If there's one thing I can guarantee about playing Silksong, it's that you're gonna fail. Not once, not twice, but probably thousands of times. Between the toughest nails platforming and some of the most intense boss battles in video games, you and Hornet are gonna find yourselves on the wrong end of the victory stick time and time again. But that failure isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sure, in the moment it doesn't feel good to mistime a critical dodge against a boss, but each time you fail, you're, paradoxically, setting yourself up for success. And if you can learn to embrace failure, you'll find that obstacles you once thought were impossible slowly become achievable. Not only in Silksong, but in your own life. This is what I learned playing Hollow Knight Silksong. Silksong is hard. There's no two ways about it. However, I think people talking about how hard it is actually hurts the game a bit, because it scares potential players off by making them think it's too hard for them, or that they're not good enough to beat any of the bosses. But all of us who've gone up against a boss in Silksong know that our first encounter looks a whole lot worse than our last. My first fight against the Widow lasted about 13 seconds. And while I can't say that I'm proud to have that gameplay footage saved on a hard drive, what mattered wasn't that I failed, it was how I responded. Instead of treating failure like a wall, I started treating it like a teacher. Because each defeat I suffered at the Widow's hands gave me a new piece of feedback. A tell into her attack pattern, a better timing window for dodging the bells, or just the fact that I could see myself making progress. Slowly, my 13-second attempts turned into 30-second attempts, then a minute, until I finally had her figured out and introduced her to the pointy end of Hornet's needle. If I hadn't taken each of these failures as lessons, I probably would have quit, and I wouldn't have experienced the elation I felt after overcoming such a major obstacle. Failure also helps you to adapt. It makes you rethink your approach, refine your strategy, and sometimes even swallow your pride. I'll be honest, there were moments fighting the last judge where I wanted to launch my controller across the room with a righteous fury because I kept dying from her fire moves. And after every death, I was forced to wake back up at a bench and make the perilous trek back to her, which really tested my patience. But frustrations aside, those failures pushed me to grow as a player. They reminded me that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is what Albert Einstein called insanity. So I tried changing my tools, experimenting with crests, and actually learning from my mistakes. And before I knew it, I found the perfect combination of approach and personal ability to best her in what turned out to be a 9-minute and 30-second battle. Why such a long battle, you ask? Well, unfortunately, I didn't figure out until after the fact that the Magma Bell and Needle upgrade from Bellheart would have been an outstanding way to improve my approach. So instead, I got to experience many more failures than necessary. But that's the hidden truth about failure. Success is built on a mountain of invisible failures, and the failures no one sees are often the most important ones. So when you see someone post their no damage last judge battle on YouTube, it's easy to think they're naturally gifted. But what you don't see are the dozens or hundreds of failed attempts that got them there. Here's the last mindset shift that really matters when it comes to failure. Failing at something doesn't make you a failure. Well, I guess it technically does, but to be great at something, you first have to be good. And to be good, you have to be bad. And to be bad, you have to at least try. Failure's just a normal part of that messy journey. The key is separating your self-worth from your results. You can fail at a task without it meaning you're worthless. And once you accept that, you gain the freedom to take risks, experiment, and keep growing. What Silksong really teaches us is that failure isn't the end. It's part of the process. Every missed dodge, every wasted attempt, and every trip back to the bench was frustrating in the moment, but each one was a stepping stone to eventual victory. And life works the same way. Whether it's applying for a job or learning a new skill, failure will almost always show up before success does. The question is, how will you treat it? like a wall that stops you or a teacher that pushes you forward. If you can shift your perspective and see failure as feedback, growth, and proof that you're trying something meaningful, then failure stops being shameful and starts becoming powerful. Because in the end, failure doesn't stop you from reaching success, it's the way to success. And just like in Silksong, every time you stand back up from the bench after a failure, you get one step closer to becoming the version of yourself that's strong enough to win. And that's it. Which of Silksong's bosses were the most challenging for you to defeat? I mainly stuck to Act 1 in this video, so be very careful of spoilers down in the comments. If you liked what you saw today, I'd love for you to subscribe and come back for the next one. Until then, see you around.